Welcome to Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks with Benjamin
and Cassidy.
Welcome everyone to the Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks podcast. Today we're going to be talking about health and fitness. So I guess the first thing to talk about would be what does it mean to be healthy?
Yeah, I think remember in grade school where we had to do the fitness tests, where we had to reach across the box, do the pacers, and it would figure out how fit you were based on stuff like that.
Not the presidential fitness test. What was that thing called? The Pacergrams fitness test?
The fitness gram pacer.
Yeah, that thing. That haunts my nightmares. God.
I remember because I did cross country and soccer, I would go to 50 and get bored.
50?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not too bad.
No, really not.
See, I was one of those band nerds.
Yeah, you could march that far.
I could march that far. Surprisingly enough, though, I'm still in quite good shape, I would say, but in high school I was in good shape as well. And I think the highest I ever got in that test was, 67 laps. And I was huffing and puffing. I mean, I was pretty much drooling on myself at that point. And all the soccer guys just put us to shame. They were just running and running and running. One of the guys kept going, and it was almost 100 laps at that point. And the teacher just said, "Look, you need to stop. You've already passed."
Yeah, some of the cross-country and track guys, they would see just how far they could go. I think teachers stopped them about 120.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, it's like, all right, we get it. You got good cardio.
You can run. Congratulations.
But I guess that makes sense, though, right? It would be a way of judging how healthy you are, in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think that shows whether or not your eating habits are good, or your dietary habits are good, or if you're maintaining good balances and your vitamins, minerals, so on and so forth.
It just means you're
fit.
You probably eat hot Cheetos and Mountain Dew every night for dinner, but you can run.
I mean, and that's part of the funny part when it comes to nutritional things and when it comes to health and fitness is you really don't have to eat all that healthy in order to maintain a good physique and maintaining just the ability to do things at a higher level, right? Now, with that being said, that's not me saying go buy a pack of family-size Oreos and eat those every day, right? Everything in moderation, of course, but there are things you can do. If you wanted to, you could eat pastas and pizza and all that stuff every single night if you wanted to, as long as you're eating it in small enough portions where you're not overloading yourself with these foods. Now, with that being said, though, obviously it'll eventually catch up to you because it's not healthy to eat high fat, high carbs, or high X whatever all the time. You have to have well-balanced diets.
Yeah, like that guy we saw at the gym who was working out, and then he ran over to his bag, scarfed down a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and then kept going.
Yeah, it's like at some point, it's just like you can eat pretty much what you want as long as you're willing to put in the work to burn off the little bit of extra that you might eat. But it's so funny to me to think that some people can even eat while working out nonetheless.
Oh, yeah. I have to force myself to drink water. I'm like, no.
Water, come on. That's the lifeblood of everything.
Yes, I know. That is one of my bad habits. I don't always drink as much water as I need to.
You know what? Ironically, I drink a lot of water, and you know this.
Yes.
I go through almost a gallon a day. But even at that rate, with the stuff I'm doing with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and weightlifting and just doing basic cardio stuff outside of that, I'm still not drinking enough water sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's funny to me to think about, because you would think, wow, you're drinking a gallon a day. Yeah, if I was doing absolutely nothing, that would be more than enough.
Because you're losing so much of it in sweat. Yeah,
and it's just necessary. And that's duh, obviously water is necessary, but I think that's a big problem is that a lot of people are underhydrated.
Yeah. And
most of the time people are dehydrated and just don't realize it.
Yeah, and they'll be like, I don't like water, I'll just drink Diet Coke. Or something like that. Yeah,
and I never really did understand the fads of diet drinks. And I get it. There's 0-calorie drinks, and they have zero sugar.
They're stock full of chemicals.
Yeah, the chemical preservatives and stuff that they put in those things, it's not good. And I'm not quite sure why people are so obsessed with them.
I'd much rather be like, okay, I'll have a soda every now and then mainly stick to water.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I did. Back when I started to drink water like I should, that's when I had to break my soda habit, because I was drinking canned sodas every day, and I would drink 2 or 3 every single day.
Oh, wow.
When I got home from school. Right? So I'm drinking a lot of soda in a very short span of time. So I felt awful. I always felt dehydrated, obviously, because I wasn't drinking hardly any water. My urine was always dark. It was awful. And I felt bad, too. I always woke up with headaches. If I didn't drink soda after a certain period of time, my head would start killing me, and I would just feel like I'd be sick.
Like withdrawals.
Yeah, it's literally withdrawals.
Yeah, from the caffeine and the sugar.
Yeah, and so my parents then got on that sugar-free kick or whatever, and started buying all those 0-calorie or Diet Coke, Diet Sprite, Diet whatever, right? And so those things are still chock full of caffeine. They just don't have any sugar, right? So then I became addicted to the caffeine withdrawal, and that was probably the hardest thing to break was soda, right? Yeah. But once I got rid of it and started drinking exclusively water, but with exception to like having maybe a Sprite or something every now and then, I felt so much better.
Yeah, like I started feeling so much better after I got over the caffeine withdrawals and I switched to decaf coffee.
I mean, same thing though, right? And I think that's a huge thing that people don't think about when they think about what does it mean to be healthy, is what are you putting into your body, right? And it's so easy to overlook, even though there are ways around it. There's ways to dance through it, right? Like, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you can eat just about anything. And there was a guy, he was some professor, I want to say he was a professor of either Yale or Harvard, something like that. I'll have to go back and look it up. But he did something called the junk food diet or the gas station diet.
He ate only junk food, but because he was in caloric deficit, he lost weight.
Yeah, because he was maintaining caloric deficits and he was working out. His cholesterol went down, his blood pressure went down, his blood sugar went down, and all of that, even though he was eating nothing but junk food. Now, with that being said, that's obviously not something you can sustain long term.
No.
Right?
He probably felt terrible.
He probably did, right? But it just goes to show, if you're willing to do the extremes when it comes to eating extreme, you can maintain any kind of health that you want. Now, obviously, it's much easier if you're eating fresh fruits, fresh veggies, lean proteins, or fatty proteins that have omega-3s or other healthy fats in them, right? Like fish or some types of turkey.
Yeah, sometimes.
Certain poultries have healthy fats, but mainly fish. That's where you're going to find a lot of your healthy fats. But again, it's just, are you willing to eat what's necessary to maintain a healthy lifestyle? All right, and I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, myself included, right? I always have a problem with tendency of just overeating, and I blame two things. I blame self-control, because I know I should be eating less at times, but I also blame restaurants in America.
Or portions are huge.
Yeah, portions are way too big. If you look at any kind of average steakhouse or any kind of average bistro, if you order a burger, right, just a simple burger, most of the time they're half-pound burgers or third-pound burgers, which that's already leaning a little too much. Yeah. But then they give you a whole thing of fries.
And bacon.
And you gotta have bacon, of course.
And mayonnaise.
And the mayonnaise and the mustard, ketchup.
Single piece of lettuce.
Yeah, the single piece of lettuce.
That's
and then,
what makes it healthy.
3 slices of cheese.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all of that. You can't, unless you're ordering specifically for healthier reasons, like, I want a hamburger with just lettuce and onion and maybe a couple pickles, right? Yeah. And just forgo the mayonnaise and the ketchup and all the other high-calorie stuff. But then you gotta I also got this huge basket of fries that came with it.
Order small.
Yeah, order small. But then you have to go back and you look at other things, right? And this is something you and I've talked about before with fast food. Yeah. Fast food in itself is also over-portioned.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You go to McDonald's, right? Their burgers are extremely small, but they're so calorically dense that it's ridiculous. I mean, I could eat probably 4 or 5 of those cheeseburgers from McDonald's, but they're 300 and something calories a piece. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
It is.
And it just leads us to situations where people in America are overeating because they either think, something doesn't have as many calories as they think. Yeah. Like, for instance, that cheeseburger, they might not think that single cheeseburger from McDonald's has 300 and something calories in it, but it does. Right, and after you eat 2 or 3 of them, now you're looking at 600 to 900 calories. That's already more than what you should be eating per meal. if you're even going by a 3 meal per day basis.
Yeah. For the average person, I think that's half your amount of days of calories.
It's easily overboard on the calories as far as your fat intake, and I'm more than positive your carb intake. It's easily more than half.
And they're calorically dense instead of nutrient dense.
Yeah, like something like spinach, right?
Yeah.
A whole box of spinach is 40 calories.
Yeah.
But there's no way you could eat all that in one sitting.
I mean, if you cooked it down, because it shrinks a lot.
I mean, of course, but if you're having like a spinach salad or something, right?
I mean, Popeye can down a can of that in a split second.
Well, Popeye has big muscles and...
forearms for days.
Yeah, forearms for days. He literally only has forearms. I don't know anything else that he actually has. But no, like, and that's something very simple to think about, right? A whole box of spinach is 40 calories. You cannot eat all that in one sitting, even if you tried. You'd be so stuffed and full just because of how much volume it is for how calorically non-dense it is.
Yeah.
Right, like one leaf of spinach is like not even a calorie. Right? But you can't say the same thing for one French fry or one part of a piece of cheese. Like, it's ridiculous how much you can find in foods.
Yeah. And the thing of nutrient dense versus calorically dense, your body's going to be craving those nutrients, and it's going to make your brain think that you're hungry again, and you're going to eat again. And since you're already on fast food, you're probably going to have something else that's calorically dense. You're like, oh, I'm hungry, I need more calories. In reality, you need more nutrients.
Yeah, and I think that's something that other people mistake is when they think calories, they think, oh, if I eat X number of calories, I'll be full for X number of hours. Yeah. When it's not based on that. So the way it works is your stomach is telling your brain whether or not it's full based on volume. All right, and then go back to the spinach example. There's so much spinach in that container. You can eat a lot of it and feel volumetrically full. Mm-hmm. And your brain's going to go, okay, I don't need to eat so much, right? Now, that stuff's easily digestible, so you'll be hungry again in about 2 hours, give or take.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you ate a whole bowl of spinach for a snack, right, you've eaten like 5 calories.
It's a really crappy snack.
I know, but like I'm just okay. Let's go to a different snack, the one that more people would be willing to eat: popcorn, right?
Okay.
Things like Skinny Pop or Skinny Girl Pop, whatever that brand is that we always see at.
I have an air popper, so.
Oh, that works great for you then.
Yeah, I love it.
But Skinny Pop's one of those debates when it comes to popcorn because it says on the bag 100 calories per cup, but it's a huge bag, right? Whereas if you just go and buy like one of your, what is it, like Uncle Ben's popcorn or I think
no, Uncle Ben's is rice. I think Orville's?
Orville's popcorn. Yeah, I think it is
so.
Orville's. You can find packages that are non-salted, non-buttered, and or very light in those two categories, and you can find a box full of like 20 packs that have 100 calories per pack.
Yeah, and it's actually cheaper to buy the little kernels, so you don't have to get an air popper. You can find ways to make it like stovetop.
Yeah,
you can control how much butter or oil is in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. But again, I love those little packets because I can just unfold them, throw them in the microwave for about 60 seconds to a minute and a half, and then I'm like, yes, big bowl of popcorn. And that whole thing's 100 calories, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so much popcorn in that 100 calories, I might be hungry 2 to 3 hours later, but I only ate 100 calories, and now I felt full. For that time period, right? It's not like, okay, I go to McDonald's or I go to Taco Bell or I go to Wendy's or whatever and get their standard burrito, burger, fries, nuggets, whatever you want to call it. And I eat 1 or 2 of those and I'm like, oh man, that was really good. I'm full. I just ate 600 to 700 calories and I'm going to be hungry again in 2 to 3 hours, just like if I had eaten the popcorn.
Yep.
And now I'm in such a caloric surplus at the end of the day that I start gaining weight.
Yeah.
And I think that leads into kind of like what we were going on to next, which is how to just avoid gaining weight. It's very simple to gain weight, but it's also very simple to lose weight, right? The reason why we have that average 2,000 calorie thing is because the average person has about a 2,000 calorie maintenance every day, right? On average.
It always depends on...
It depends on the person.
The size, I cannot think of the word.
Somatotype?
Sure. I was actually thinking, oh my gosh, the word's just completely escaped. Metabolism. There we go.
Metabolism. There you go. But yeah, it depends on a lot of factors. Like, what kind of body type do you have? Are you tall? Are you short? What's your muscle density? What's your bone density? Mm-hmm. What's your metabolism at? Are you meant to be more muscular? Are you meant to be more lean? Are you meant to be a little thicker? And all those things play into it, right? And finding your maintenance is really difficult, but it's something that once you figure it out, it helps you figure out how much you can eat, right?
Yeah.
And this is how it works, right? So 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories, right? So over the course of 7 days, if you ate a surplus of 500 calories every single day, at the end of 1 week, you would have 1 pound of fat.
Yeah.
So, for instance, going back to that average, right? Because the average person floats around 2,000 calories, if you're eating 2,500 calories a day and your maintenance should be around that 2,000 mark, right? And you're eating 2,500 every day, you've now put on a pound of fat after 1 week. After 4 weeks, you put on 4 pounds of fat.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so now think of it like that, right? So then, after that, now you're at 48 pounds after 1 year. You've put on an extra almost 50 pounds after 1 year of just eating in surplus the entire time. Yeah. Now, of course, no one's going to maintain that kind of diet forever. Most of the time, people are cognitive enough to know that, oh, my pants aren't fitting the same. My shirt's a little tighter. And they're like, I need to cut back, right? But there are people who don't. And that's when you start getting to obesity and other things that are really problematic.
Yeah, and then, there's always excuses like, oh, I have a desk job, or I have a health condition.
Yeah, I mean, the health condition thing, that's subjective to the person, obviously.
Yeah, and it depends on the health condition itself. Like,
of course.
If you have an issue with your thyroid, yeah, that's really not your fault. Like PCOS, that can make it very difficult to lose weight. It's still possible, but like I said, it is very difficult. And, yeah.
Again, I think it's subjective to the person, what their excuses are, and if they do have a medical condition, what the medical condition is, right? Because when you have someone who's perfectly healthy, maybe they have a sedentary job, maybe they do have a desk job, right? And they're sitting there for 8 to 10 hours a day, right? That's problematic in itself, but you can restrict how many calories you're eating, and because of that maintenance, right? Maintenance just means as long as you're within that maintenance level, you're never going to gain or lose weight. Right?
It's so much easier to maintain than it is to lose weight, too.
Yeah, but see, the same thing applies for the surplus as it does for the deficit, right? If you're eating 500 calories in deficit every day, you've now ate a 3,500 calorie deficit over 7 days, so now you should lose a pound, right? Now, that's a little on the extreme side, because cutting out 500 calories a day from a maintenance level, that's insane. Right, you're talking if you're used to eating 2,000 to 2,100 calories a day, somewhere in there, and you cut 500 calories, you've cut a meal out. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
No, you were going to say something?
No, I didn't really have anything to say.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess this goes into our next thing, though. So, like, what does it mean to be fit? Like, what kind of standards would you look for? What are you planning on doing? What do you like to do? Those kind of things.
I guess really helping being in shape.
What does that mean, right? Because I love that saying, mm-hmm. but the saying is subjective, right?
It's very subjective. To me, being in shape is you can exercise some and, be okay for a little light exercise. Walk my dog, I can be perfectly fine. I can hold a conversation while walking my dog. But, as well as being able to do simple cardio, lifting at least 40 pounds. Those job descriptions. You must lift 40 pounds.
Gotta love those.
Oh, yeah. But, I guess just simple things like that. Because, if you have trouble going up a couple flights of stairs, you might need to rethink your dietary and athletic habits.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to those things, especially with how automated the world's becoming, where we have a lot of things that assist us in day-to-day lives, right? You got things like elevators and escalators now, so that takes out kind of that cardio check that a lot of people are missing, where they're saying, okay, well, I'm going to go up these 3 flights of stairs, and after you go up it, if you're a little winded, you're like, oh, well, maybe I need to do a little bit more cardio.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're using an escalator or an elevator all the time, you're never going to have that quick little mental check in your head to say, oh, dang, I shouldn't be out of breath after this.
Yeah.
And if you go too long without doing that, and you have no athletic habits or no workout habits, then you've gotten to a point where after you do those things, you go to, let's say you go on a hike with somebody, or you go walking downtown wherever your city is, right? And you get winded after a few blocks, you're like, oh my. And that's when it hits you. But oftentimes you're so far behind at that point, it's such a struggle to become motivated to continue to try to get back to that point and then continue on past it. And I think that's a big problem when it comes to the fitness in general, is that in the mental aspect.
Yeah, because when you're trying to get to certain levels and you don't reach those milestones at the place you're running to, it's really discouraging, and it makes people want to give up. Like, oh, I can't do it.
Well, and that leads in great to what my next point was going to be, was you need to have realistic goals, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, okay, well, like, I don't know much about girl sizes, right? But I guess realistically a girl might go, all right, well, I'm a size 10, and after 4 months, I'm going to be a size 4.
That's not how that works.
Or a size 6, right? They have something that's a little bit far-fetched, that's not quite attainable after a short period of time, but that's what their goal is. Yeah. And they become disappointed because once they get to that time frame that they've passed in their head mentally and they're not where their goal was, then they get discouraged, or they don't see the results that they see, they get discouraged and they stop and they go right back to the bad habits.
Just like, and the goals need to be realistic. Like, normally for pants, I'm like a 6 or an 8 because I'm 5'8", I have a medium build. But my hips will only go so small.
Right.
So it's completely unattainable for me to be like, I want to be a 2. Because my bone structure won't allow that.
Right, and you've accepted the fact that physiologically, anatomically, you're not built that way in order to get down to that small of a waist size. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, you can get to a very small size, but there's a limit to how small you can get just because of your build.
Yeah.
Right? Same for me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", I'm fairly chonky, in the hips, but there's only so small my hips can get.
Yeah.
Right? There's only so much waistline I can knock off before my pant size stays the exact same. Right? And I think it's a little different for guys than it is girls, because girls, I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, try to go for more like a size thing where, I want to wear this size clothing.
Yes.
Whereas guys, it's more so, I know at least in my head, I want to be able to lift this much weight. I want to have pecs that are so big. I want to have abs that show off so much,
I love that it's on opposite spectrums. Like, girls want to be small. And guys, they want to be, I want to be big and buff. And girls like, no. I don't want to be big. It's like, I would like to have noodle arms, thank you.
I'm sure there are some girls out there who would...
some girls are into being strong, and that's completely okay. There's an array of body types.
Of course.
I think it just depends on what you want to look like, and is that attainable for your body type.
Yeah, and more often than not, what your goal is, your end goal rather, is more attainable than most people think. Right?
It just takes longer than you expect.
Yes, and like for instance, right, to use almost like a men's fitness thing, right? So most men want to have pecs, abs, and a V-line.
Yeah.
Right, with a shredded back, and they don't want any love handles, and they won't want any fat spilling over, and they don't want to look big. Yeah. Right? So let's use someone like Jason Momoa, the actor.
Yeah.
He's got a great physique, right? But for a guy to get that same physique naturally, they'd have to go through, I don't know, probably if they ate right for a whole, how can I put this? If they ate right the entire time, they worked out right the entire time, they took the proper rest and nutrition habits that it takes to get a physique like that, you could probably realistically attain that kind of build in 3 years.
Yeah.
But that's 3 years of dedication of proper eating, proper exercise, proper nutritional balance with vitamins and minerals, and making sure you're hydrated all the time.
And that takes a lot of discipline that I think is really lacking in the world today. Like, we want quick fix. We want fad diets that make us shed 25 pounds in a week.
Well, and fad diets work. That's the thing, though. The reason why they're called fad diets is because they work.
Until you stop it.
Until you stop doing it, and then it doesn't work anymore. What was that one diet? Southwest Beach Bod, I think that's what it was called. It was a fad diet. You can lose up to 60 pounds during our program. And that's true. If you're that overweight, you could lose that 60 pounds.
Yeah.
But as soon as you stop and you go back to eating the normal dietary habits that you had beforehand, you're going to gain it all back.
Yeah. And I've been loving the mails of the spam texts I've been getting. Lose 50 pounds in however amount of time, which, I mean, yeah, I could lose a few, but if I lost 50 pounds, I would die.
I don't think you would die. You would just look anorexic.
And I would be anorexic. I'd be literally skin and bones. And some organs that are shutting down.
Yeah, I mean, organs, right? Who needs those?
I know, right?
But no,
Who needs both your kidneys?
But no, it's just keep your goals realistic. That's one of the hardest things people do. And people get so fixated on numbers that they sometimes overshoot what they think is possible, right? Mm-hmm. If I say I want to lose 10 pounds, that's a realistic goal. I can do that, right? But it depends on what time frame I set after that, right? Mm-hmm. If I say I want to lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks, now we've got problems. Because you're talking I'm losing 2.5 pounds a week. That's extreme dieting. And I'm not going to have the energy to do any kind of workout or any kind of physical activity because I'm going to be so drained calorically, right? And that's the thing, right? So if I go back to that 10-pound thing, if I want to lose 10 pounds though, but I say I want to lose 10 pounds over 2 months, now it's a lot more attainable. Now we're talking about a little more than a pound a week. That is more than possible, right? But again, it goes back to how far are you willing to commit? And I think part of the other thing is a lot of people don't realize this, but they're overeating.
Yes.
Right? Going back to that whole McDonald's cheeseburger thing versus your bucket of spinach or your bowl of popcorn, right? You're talking one cheeseburger, 300 calories, one huge bowl of popcorn, 100 calories.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're eating like that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and for a snack, right? So now you're doing, okay, let's say your average meal unhealthily is 500 to 600 calories, right? And you eat 3 meals a day, that's already 1,500 calories, right? That's not bad, but then if you include the snacks and the other things, now you're over 2,000, and this is when problems start coming in. Whereas you're eating the healthier things that are more calorically non-dense, you then come into a situation where, okay, it's dinner time, and I've only eaten 1,000 calories today, total.
Yeah.
Right? So you can splurge a little bit more at dinner time.
You could even have a hot chocolate after dinner.
Yeah, but, and that's the thing though, you can splurge a little bit more, but that's no excuse to overeat. Oh, no. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. They'll do really good for the first day or two, and they're like...
And then they need a reward.
And of course, you should reward yourself. However, you can't go overboard, right? I love milkshakes. I'll be the first to admit it. I also love Hush Puppies. Fried bread, I don't know what it is. I love it.
It's fried bread. That's why it's so delicious.
It's bread. Who doesn't like bread? Yeah. But no, and I love those things, but I can't eat them all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I might eat them once every 2 to 3 weeks, but that's it. Yeah. It's not a consistent thing. And my rewards are not something extreme. It's like, okay, if I've eaten 1,500 or 1,600 calories for the day and I know I have about 400 more that I can hit about maintenance and I know I've done good the entire week, I could say, okay, well let me go grab an ice cream for 300 calories.
Yeah. Just make sure you're getting a small.
Yeah. And I can reward myself for doing good every week, but without going over. Mm-hmm. Or if I say, okay, well, instead of eating this 4-ounce steak for dinner like I've been doing, I'm going to eat this 6-ounce steak. I'm going to get that extra 200 calories in, right? Yeah. But I can do that because I've been in such a deficit the entire week, and I've been eating so well up to that point.
Yeah.
So, in order to maintain those realistic goals, though, you have to find things you like to do. And I think that's a proper segue into our next topic, which is, what do we do?
So I'm very lucky that I have a fairly active job. I work at an animal hospital, so I'm constantly on my feet. I have to restrain animals that do not want to be restrained. I break out a sweat many times a day. And I also have a very active dog myself. He loves to walk and swim and run and sprint up and down the stairs. He thinks it's great. And he keeps me very active, which I'm thankful for. And I do try to eat as healthy as I can. Like, if I go to restaurants, I'll look at the menu, see the description, and see, what has the most vegetables? Just to make sure that I'm getting enough nutrients.
Right. So anything else in particular? Or do you eat at certain places? Do you cook your own food?
Oh, I definitely prefer cooking. I actually love cooking. I love going on Pinterest, seeing different types of recipes and trying them out. And then if I like the recipe, like, how can I tweak it just a little bit, make it that much better? And it's a hobby that I've really picked up and that I really like to do.
All right.
So, I've also tried to not eat meat for every single meal. I do try to be more plant-based, not quite vegetarian or vegan, but I do try to always make sure I have my 5 a day with vegetables and not to eat too much red meat, because red meat does have nutrients that we need, but having too much red meat can be dangerous.
But I think that's true for anything, though, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of people mistake, is that too much of anything can be bad.
Yes.
Right. Now, of course, there's always that one diet that says, well, we can eat only this food and we'll look great. And sure, that's true, but you're also cutting out other necessary nutrients in order to achieve that. And you're forcing your body to try to use what it gets in processes that it shouldn't be using it for.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as what things that I do, when it comes to eating, I tend to eat out a good bit. And that's a pretty bad habit. I need to get into the habit of cooking more.
Your family doesn't really cook much.
Yeah, but that's okay. So the few times I do cook, though, I try to cook relatively healthy things, or things that are on the lighter side, or things that are generally considered better for you, right? I try to stay away from fried foods. I try to stay away from anything that's heavily filled with grease or covered in grease. So again, as far as when I eat out, though, a lot of times it's me getting, like, for instance, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I love their chicken sandwiches. Don't get me wrong. I don't know of any person who doesn't like Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. But
their grilled ones are good.
Yeah, their grilled one is good too. But I like their grilled chicken wrap. All right, it's a little more expensive.
Yeah.
But it's like 200, 300 calories, I think.
Eating healthy at fast food is always going to be more expensive because they can take advantage of those trying
exactly.
to be healthy.
But and that's part of the problem with eating out, is it's more expensive to eat healthily if you're eating out rather than cooking it yourself. Now, going back to as far as things that I eat, when I cook or when I make things myself, I do things like acai, which is a Brazilian fruit bowl. It's almost like a smoothie. Yeah. I think you've
like smoothie bowl?
Yeah, it's like a smoothie bowl. I think you've started eating some as well.
Yeah, I'll do it every now and then if I have time.
Yeah, but I'll get this nice big bowl of acai. I'll put banana in it, strawberries in it.
Granola?
I'll put granola in it. I'll put a little bit of my protein powder in it. And I'll put a little bit of my peanut butter protein stuff in it. And the whole bowl, I mean, it's huge. Mm-hmm. But it's like 500 calories in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be full off of that for a long period of time because of how much stuff is in this bowl. Mm-hmm. Right? And then other things I like to make are, like, I'm not a big fan of stews, but I do make stews every now and then. And I think those are generally fairly good for you because a lot of the time you can make stuff that's really hearty and healthy.
Yeah. And
it's also very filling because of the fact that
you can put a lot of vegetables in stews.
Yes, you can. And then the other times when I make stuff, I do a lot of steamed veggies, or I'll do steaks or chicken, but I make sure it's very lean cuts when I do it. And the few times I don't do lean cuts, I try to avoid putting too much oil and too much butter on anything. They make it good. Of course, I add a little bit, everything in moderation, right? But it's much easier to eat healthily if you just cook it yourself and buy it yourself. It's not only is it easier, it's more cost efficient, and you can control what's going into your diet. Yeah, you can control, and you know exactly what's going in.
Yeah.
And then as far as like physical activities go, you mentioned, your dog keeps you very active.
Yes.
For me, I'm weightlifting 3 to 4 times a week. I'm doing some kind of cardio. Mm-hmm. Most of the time I don't do too much cardio during the week because I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 3 hours, 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, that's a lot of cardio.
Yeah. The first little bit is usually not that bad, but once you start getting into the sparring aspect, you tend to just go, and it's very tough on you very quickly. So yeah, I mean, those things keep me active, and just maintaining and thinking consciously what I'm eating and making sure that what I'm eating is healthy. Like, for instance, instead of going out for lunch and buying like fried food, or going to pick up a burger, or going to pick up fried chicken, any of those things, I'll go, okay, well, let me get a salad from this local place, or let me pick up a grilled item, let me pick up some fish, let me pick up something with rice, or something that's relatively simple and healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that, and that's kind of a good way to kind of conclude this session with, we do things that we like to do.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love to lift weights. Yeah. Those two things I absolutely like to do. And that's a good way for me to stay healthy, because these are two things I enjoy. So it's not a chore. It's something that I can do without having to fight myself over to do it. I hated running. I hated forcing myself to go long periods of time for walks, jogs, etc. But when I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was like, oh man, I love this. It keeps my cardio up. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. And it's killing calories. It is burning them like crazy. But it's something I like to do.
You have to find something that you like. You can't, like, if you, oh yeah, kickboxing, it's a lot of cardio, but I hate it, but I go to it. But you don't want to do something that you hate. You can't force yourself to do something like that.
Yeah, it's not good long term. No, you'll eventually burn out. So once you find something that you like, stick to it. It becomes so much easier to stay healthy and stay fit, stay active when you find stuff that you enjoy and you continue to pursue it. Because you can only get better.
Yeah. And just because I'm personally having this issue right now, I live on a lake. I used to do a lot of skiing, especially wakeboarding. I love wakeboarding. I miss it dearly. Even though my knee is messed up and I can't work out the way I used to, I can still lose weight.
Right.
Like, it's still possible. So, if all of these things we haven't mentioned don't apply to you, you can always find something that does apply to you.
Yeah, of course. It's what do you I think the simplest way is to do this. Find a realistic goal. Say, all right, I'm 15 pounds overweight, and that's what I want to lose. Yeah. I want to lose that 15 pounds over the course of 5 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. What do I like to do? And when you answer that question of what do you like to do it, but do it for long enough periods of time that it becomes beneficial for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, for instance, weightlifting. If I only weightlifted for 10 minutes a day, that's not going to do me any good.
No. And I miss weightlifting.
But if I do weightlifting for an hour, now we're starting to see results. We're starting to see muscle fibers and stuff starting to be developed and my body composition changing. Right? Same thing for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If I was to only do that for 10 to 20 minutes, yeah, that's good cardio, assuming I'm doing the actual sparring portion during that 10 to 20 minutes. But if that's all I'm doing, it's not going to be that beneficial for me. Just find something you like to do. If you like martial arts, do martial arts. If you like weightlifting, do weightlifting. If you like long distance running, do long distance running. Find what you like.
Yeah, and if you don't have anything that you like right now, or don't really know what you're interested in, find some kind of club organization that has a lot of options and just try it out.
Yeah, test the water. Test the water. If you don't know if you like something or not, do a free trial. Ask the person, like, for instance, if you have a gym that does, let's say water skiing, since you brought that up, or kneeboarding.
I don't think a gym could have kneeboarding.
You know what I mean? Like a
like
water gym.
Sports,
yeah, like a water sports gym or something, right? And you say, oh, well, I want to do kneeboarding, right?
You still can't kneeboard in the gym. Like swimming.
Okay, fine, swimming. Water polo. Yeah, okay, fine. And,
you fit in a pool.
Well, you could fit a boat in a pool, but...
Like you can't go very far.
Yeah.
Okay. I gunned it for 5 seconds, then I gotta turn around. Gun it for 5 seconds.
But no, so just ask them, hey, I'm not sure if I'd like this or not. Can I test this out? Mm-hmm. Or can I do a free trial? Can I come for the first 3 sessions and see if I enjoy this or not? And most people, more often than not, will say, yeah, you can do it for free because you're a potential customer for them at that point.
I think if you're like, oh no, you have to pay immediately up front, you're not really going to get a lot of business.
No, and more people are more willing to be inclusive when it comes to being fit. Mm-hmm. And there's more of a community out there that's trying to encourage people to stay fit, stay active than people realize. And you just got to find the group that fits you and continues to motivate you.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good stopping place for today.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, thank you for joining the podcast of Dumb Thoughts, Smart Talks. And I hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.